Hello and welcome back to the Cozy Club, my friends. It is a beautiful day for some DSA, and I had my own Hawaiian roller coaster ride myself in sunny San Diego and did some surfing this morning. And Stitch, Gantu, and Bubbles are here, and wow, they breathe a breath of fresh air to the Oceanic Faction. Today, we're going to look at 7-star and Tier 7 gameplay of Gantu, Bubbles, and we're going to look how Stitch fits into an Oceanic team, look at some example comps, and then go through most of all of the Stitch Tower up to the very last level, my friends. I'm excited to show you this gameplay. This video was actually brought to you by some amazing supporters at the Cozy Club. We had an amazing, crazy Friday party stream, and Thumper, Topher Grind, and Cat Attack were amazing enough to help me get these T7 7-star characters on, within the first couple of days, so I can bring you guys the best gameplay, and you guys can take a look for yourselves if you want to invest in this Oceanic crew. All right, so I had my fun surfing. It's time to get out of this wetsuit, and let's get right on to the video. All right, so I'm changed back into my regular clothes, guys, and there's a lot to uncover in today's video. We're going to be talking and looking at Capt Gantu, Bubbles, and Stitch in a little bit further detail. We're also going to take a complete look at the Stitch Tower. Yes, I know there was some controversial stuff, I guess, with the Stitch Tower, but, we got to move forward and go on from there. It looks like the tower is going to be coming back a lot, guys. So if you are super interested in getting these characters, I recommend dropping what you're doing and going after Gantu and Bubbles, because they are in free-to-play locations right out the bat. Now, we don't know when it's coming back, but go ahead and start putting your energy towards them if you want to go for an Oceanic crew. Now, speaking of the Oceanic Faction, I just talked about Gantu and Bubbles breathing some fresh air into this faction, guys. It was very stale. There was not a lot of choices. And now the Oceanic crew looks like it's going to be a team for the future. And the good news about them is, just like the Kingdom faction, right? You're going to be having more and more Oceanic characters come out and build stronger and stronger teams. Like Frozen is stuck as Frozen. Yes, right now, Elsa and Anna plus Dash and Hero. Elsa and Anna in the Frozen team seems like they've been lasting through the metas. But the thing is, eventually, that Frozen team is going to be dead, right? And Kingdom and Oceanics are going to keep on growing. So what Bubbles, Gantu, and Stitch have done is provide a staple team for the future Oceanics and even old Oceanic characters. They breathed in new life into abilities on certain old characters that looked outdated and really that they had no synergy with their fellow faction members. Let's take Captain Hook, for example. His 42 degrees second ability didn't do a lot before the Lilo and Stitch game came out. And now what it's going to do is, once he has tactics, he's going to call all Oceanic characters to assist. And you're going to be able to keep on putting this out there, guys. And so he's just one example. We're going to go through some others later in the video. But it's breathing fresh air into old units. And that, my friends, is a good thing. Now, let's start with Capt Gantu. Gantu is the most interesting tank that we've seen, in my opinion, in DSA. He's not a traditional tank in the sources. He doesn't get a taunt and people don't go after him and he kind of takes all the damage. Instead, if you don't attack Gantu, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And guys, I know Bubbles is getting a lot of love, and we'll get to Bubbles and Mr. Kobe Bryant, Cobra Bubbles, here in a second. But Gantu is not getting the love he deserves. Now listen here. I've won 1v5 matchups because people are going after the heroes. They're going after Bubbles. They're going after Dash, some of the other units on my team, and they're just leaving Gantu alone. However, Gantu is laying down the massive hits. I've been able to come back for some crazy battles. He's getting 8K crits out there with his Galactic Armada ability. So first, looking at his basic Plasma Blast, he's going to be using this a lot because he does counter when his teammates get hit, right? So 25% chance for all teammates, 50% chance for Oceanics. And you'll see this damage really starts to rack up. Other than that, he's got Abomination. And Abomination is what you want to start the battle with. It's best with high health. It scales to health. And it does a decent amount of damage. Now, every single time that Gantu does damage, he gains charges. And every time he takes damage, he loses those charges, kind of similar to Dash's kit. The thing with Gantu is he's going to gain 6% offense per charge. So up to 60% offense stacked with the Galactic Armada. And you see some big damage coming out on the enemy team. I'm loving the kind of off-tank abilities that he has. And I think that once Maui comes out, or some other Oceanic tank that can absorb more damage, this team is really gonna be a tough team to face, guys. Now, currently, the one thing with the Oceanic squads is that they're a little bit on the slow side. Also, y'all, Gantu can put slow on all of the enemies. And keep in mind, Gantu is the godfather, the leader of tactics, y'all. He's gonna be giving tactics to all Oceanic characters, and it's going to work really well with Bubbles kits. He's the Lord of Tactics. He's going to be giving tactics to himself and then putting mass slow on all of the enemy team. I want y'all to know that we don't have, not just me, but no one has access currently to Stitch at 7 stars or even 6 stars. It's impossible. Currently, the furthest you could take Stitch within this tower event the first time around is 5 stars. So once we have a full Stitch unlocked 7-star T7, I bet you he's going to be hitting like a truck, and we'll look at his kit in a little bit later in this video. So let's take a look at Gantu's stats. He has 1,161 offense, which is on the lower side, but keep in mind his abilities are going to be stacking with this offense. So he gains offense off the charge system. He gains offense depending to his health. So don't really worry about his offense stat in this picture. 527 defense, which is on the much higher side, and 22,672 health, y'all. That's a massive amount of health. So you can put a health stone on him. I've been currently running mine as an off tank with an offense spell. For those of you guys that like played WoW, he's kind of like a paladin in WoW, right? He's an offensive tank. Now looking at his critical chance, he's got 11% critical chance, 104 speed, which is definitely more on the slow side, guys, but you could speed him up with hero and other abilities. And then he's got 7% potency and 23% tenacity. So he's not going to be, he's got a fourth of a chance to fend off harmful effects, which is a nice touch. All right, now let's move on to Cobra Bubbles. And let me just say this. Cobra is already in the meta. We've seen Frozen teams combine with Cobra, and it's looking ridiculous. He's probably one of the best plug-and-play characters with hero that we've seen thus far in this game. Let's look into exactly why he's a plug-and-play character that could fit well with any squad that you're currently running. I actually recommend going for Cobra once you're done with the project that you're on, because not only will you be able to get Stitch with him, but also he's just great to plug in with most teams. He's going to be good for Tower 3, 5, and other areas of the game. Now, his basic attack, Information is Power. This is something you're going to see a lot, mainly because he assists with anyone who has tactics. Now, look at this video here, for example. I put Peter's shadow on Bubbles, and we've got 3 of them rocking out. Check out all these flying suitcases and how much damage racks up, guys. It's an unfair advantage once you get more than 2 or 3 Bubbles on the field. Now, we've seen him plug into the Frozen team because he gives tactics to Elsa and some other characters. And remember, guys, tactics makes a guaranteed % chance of whatever the current enemy or ally is trying to put out. So for example, if Aladdin has a 30% chance to flick slow with his carpet, it's now going to be 100% chance. Now looking at stare down, it's going to be inflicting Intimidate, which we talked about Intimidate in my last video. Very solid debuff. It removes 35% speed turn meter. It's a little bit of an anti-Kristoff kit. Now, his Call Me Next Time is an interesting ability that I find myself using quite frequently. Something I like to do is I like giving heroes upgrade also to Bubbles, and then from that point, I give this haste or this attack up to one of my other team members on the field. Now, if they have low health, the lower the health, the more speed turn meter they gain. So if they have no health, this is a great idea or a great ability to give to those characters, giving them an instant turn right before they die. Now, the last thing I love about Bubbles, again, there's not any synergy really involved in this kit. There's nothing that's going to be better. Yes, his cleanse is a little bit better on Oceanic characters, and he does gain more speed turn meter when he gets hit with Lilo and Stitch characters. But guys, he has a Lotso kit kind of built into him. Each time that a teammate takes damage, he's going to be gaining 5% turn meter. Now, yes, it'll be 10% if it's a Lilo and Stitch character, but that is absolute crazy. And you're going to be seeing Bubbles go quite frequently because of this. The speed stat doesn't matter so much on him. And speaking of those stats, guys, let's take a look. He's going to have 1,368 offense, which is less than Stitch and a little bit more than Gantu. 464 defense, 18,859 health, 106 speed, which is again on that slow side, but with his passive, you'll be seeing him moving quite frequently, and the 10% on tenacity. Solid stats overall, my friends, and Bubbles is going to be someone that's going to be a blast to test with. Now, I'm going to say right now, we're going to just be going over some basic teams, and y'all will be seeing some basic strategy. Now, for those of you guys that like the in-depth or really strategic videos, I'll be releasing a lot of Oceanic content here in the future. So hopefully you guys like to see these T7 Bubble and T7 Gantu in action. I'll try to use Stitch as much as I can. Now, currently, he does die a little bit easy, which we'll step into in just a second. So again, Cozy Club, Bubbles is going to work well with Kingdom teams because he can help get those slows guaranteed out. He's going to work well with Frozen teams. He's going to work well with Downtown Villains. Anything you can think of, Bubbles is a great plug and play to get in there with someone like Hero. And then you've got your main staple characters that are going to help you with any team in this game. Now let's go and move on to what everyone wants to see and hear from. and that is going to be Stitch. Now, before we talk about Stitch and his stats and his abilities, let's talk about this Stitch event tower. Now, first thing I want to say about these towers is I don't think this is the PvE content everyone was begging for, but it's a step in the right direction. It's much better than the mundane old events that you just kind of work through. At least this brings a breath of fresh air into getting new characters, and I'm actually for this. It was fun to fight different units that were put together. You can see there was incredible teams and frozen teams and downtown villains. They got creative with the teams that you were going against. Now, these towers are going to be a lot like the towers of endurance that you've already done, right? You're going to have persistent health. So as your team goes through the tower and they lose health, they're going to keep that health, and you're going to have to try to finish the tower along the way. You'll get currency that you can use in the Stitch exchange that is going to be coming back each time. And from what I've heard, you're going to keep that exchange currency for the next time that it comes. Now, you can't use it in another tower that comes unless it's the Stitch tower. Now, in order to unlock this blue little fuzzball, you're going to need to be able to complete Tower 2. Now, let's talk about the requirements and what you're going to need. Now, looking at Tower 1, you're going to need one mythical character at star level 2 and gear level 4, and that should be obtainable for a lot of you guys. Go after Olaf or someone like Hades, and you should be able to get through this tower somewhat quickly. Now, Tower 2 is where all the controversy was. If you guys don't know, there was lower requirements, and then they noticed that those were obviously not the requirements that they intended to have, so they hot fixed it. Some people were able to keep Stitch, and personally, I think they should have just taken all the Stitches away and then have everyone start fresh. That's not what happened. They sent out compensation. Let's move forward and on from what happened. But Tower 2 is going to be the tough one. Now, in order to unlock Stitch and complete Tower 2, you're going to need one mythic at star level 5 and gear level 5. And you're also going to need Captain Gantu. And this is what held a lot of people back. Captain Gantu at T5 and star level 5. So again, if you want Stitch, guys, this should come back sometime soon in the future. Go ahead and start going after Gantu. He is on a hard note on the villains campaign, so start working towards him now. Now, Cozy Club, I tried my hardest, and with the awesome support, we were able to get all the way to the last level of Tower 3. Unfortunately, for the last level, you've got to be the chubbiest of dolphins, the fattest of whales. They did not make this easy to unlock the first time. To beat the last floor on the last tower, you need to have a 7-star Gantu and a 7-star Bubbles, which isn't easy, but hey, okay, let's unlock them. But wait, there's more. You need to have a T7 gear Gantu and Bubbles, which, if you guys don't know, it's a lot of resources that go into getting these characters to T7. And then wait, there's more. You have to have a T7 mythical as well, so that requirements to beat Tower 3 is quite heavy. And the one thing I didn't love about this is when you finally get all this done, you're only going to get a little bit more Stitch shards. So I think really they just plan on having you get the Stitch shards through the exchange, which we'll talk about here in a second. You do get one pack whenever you do unlock Stitch to get him up to 4 stars. But in my opinion, that's just not enough. But on the bright side, this should be coming back more often. And let's take a look at this exchange store. As you guys can see here, you can unlock Stitch through this exchange store, and you can go ahead and get little shards of him, or you can get Gantu and Bubbles. My recommendation is obviously save everything for Stitch, or if you have 0 plans for Stitch and you're just playing this for content, guys, look at this T7 and T6 gear. This is a great value for this, so go ahead and start putting your currency into this instead if you don't want Stitch. Also, Cozy Club, let me know if you want to see the complete walkthrough and guide to the Stitch Tower. I'd be happy to do a video of that. Let me know in the comments below if that is something you would like to see. Now that we've talked about the blue little fuzzball, let's take a look at his stats, his abilities, and some of his animations. Now, for those of you that don't know, I do have a Discord and Twitter that's been growing every single day. The link is down in the description. Whenever Stitch first came out, I posted his animations 5 minutes after that, guys. Do you know, if you want to see things early, go ahead and follow the Twitter or join the Discord today. Now let's start at looking at Stitch's stats, which we all know we don't have him maxed out, but these are going to be the T7 maxed out Stitch that hopefully one day we will see soon. He's going to have 1,567 offense, which is very high on the offense side of things. And it's only going to keep getting better as his basic goes more and more, which we'll look at here in just a hot minute. 299 defense, 14,881 health, 23% critical chance with 150% critical power, which is pretty standard. And then 120 speed. Very nice speed on Stitch. And guys, in his passive, he gains more and more speed. So this is just the beginning on how fast and how frequently Stitch is going to go. Now let's jump in and look at Stitch's kit, starting with Model Citizen, his basic. Now looking at this off the bat, I thought Peter Shadow would work really well with this. Keep in mind, when you do clone him, he's got to keep building those arms up on the fresh new shadow. It's not going to copy the Stitch, the amount of arms on the Stitch that is already out there. Now, this is going to do a lot more damage each time you go with it. But the problem I did find with this is it takes time to ramp this up because you're going to want to use his other abilities first before the basic. However, it's great if he gets silenced or if you need to use his basic, as it's a very strong move and it's probably one of the best basic and hardest hitting basics in the game. Now, his first ability, Stop Touching Me, hits very hard and it'll be putting slow on the enemy. On top of that, he's also going to have evasion if Stitch has tactics, which he should if he's with Gantu or Bubbles. And Stitch gains an additional 20% speed meter for each Lilo and Stitch ally. So when you use this, you'll be able to go again. So in theory, you Stop Touching Me and then go right to Blue Punch Buggy. Now, Blue Punch Buggy, I'm not seeing get enough love, and that's because we don't have a max Stitch yet. Each and every defense down on the enemy is going to mean more damage for Blue Punch Buggy. And guys, let me tell you, you're going to be seeing 8, 9, 10 stacks of defense down on the enemy whenever Stitch uses his basic attack. For every single hit, you have a chance to land defense down, and Blue Punch Buggy is going to be landing some massive damage. And that, and Gantu as well, has the chance to put defense down. So guys, you should be seeing a Blue Punch Buggy hit pretty hard. Now, I know some of you guys did see my Discord, but take a look at this video and look at Stitch's passive work here. His passive, every single time that Stitch does take damage, he's going to get 4% health back and gain 3% speed turn meter. Now, both are doubled on critical hits. Also, anytime you see a charge go on an enemy, he's going to be countering attack, which is going to counterattack dash or enemy Gantus themselves, and also hero. Now, it hasn't been too crazy and I haven't seen as much damage as I thought, but again, let's wait until see more max Stitches get out there. Now, looking at this video, guys, check out Zerg do it in complete rapid ion blaster on Stitch and put 23 hits or whatever how many hits on Stitch, and Stitch doesn't move a muscle, guys. He takes the whole hits, no health goes down, and he gets full speed turn meter. This is the possibilities of max Stitch, and I for one cannot wait until we see a max Oceanic team. Now, I'm going to be testing all this next week, both on my Twitch and then just by myself, more and more on Oceanic teams that these guys can fit into. Guys, we've talked about the tactics being a huge play with the Oceanic team, and let's look at some of these Oceanic characters that I think they're going to work well with. Now, first of all, Ariel is an obvious one. She's got a great purge that's going to help against frozen teams, a decent lead, which is the only lead of now that we have with these Oceanic characters, and then also she has a kit that works well with slow guys. Now, slow is going to be something that Gantu puts out there a lot. Bubbles puts out on basic, so Ariel is a nice choice. Also, we've talked about it. I think Davy Jones is going to work very nice with tactics on himself. He's going to be hitting a lot more critical hits. He's going to be calling his Flying Dutchman to assist more. And guys, Tinkerbell might have a spot as well. Probably not. But Tinkerbell does work well with tactics. Her basic can remove 30% speed meter. So like I said, Gantu and Bubbles is going to enhance really all of these characters. We talked about Hook and what he can do, and I'm excited to see a new tank or more speed coming to this team. And hopefully we see that here in just a bit. All right, so we've talked about the stats. We talked about all of the characters. We've talked about some good team comps that might come out. And again, we're going to elaborate more on those next week. Now, I just want to go ahead and show you, Cozy Club, some sped up footage of a good arena battle of these Oceanic characters and just watch all the interactions that they do. It's actually pretty satisfying watching this team full out destroy some of these crazier teams that you're seeing in arena. Also, y'all, just letting you know this week, finally, now that the new Stitch characters have come, we can make a new tier list and expect that in the next few days, guys. I'm excited to get a new tier list out there to you to show exactly who the best characters are in DSA. Leave a like on this video if you want to see a tier list this week, as I'm excited to get it out to you. Big shout out again to my amazing supporters on the Friday Twitch stream. It was an absolute party, and I just want to thank you guys again for making it possible for me to get this footage and get more and more team gameplay out for you guys later on this week. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on today's video, looking and taking a sneak peek and taking a look at maxed out T7 Gantu and Bubbles and a little bit of a T5 Stitch. And again, Stitch, we haven't really seen him. His health isn't there, so he can get wiped out pretty easily, but I'm excited to get more and more Oceanic footage out there to you guys. Until next time, y'all stay cozy.